Welcome to Off Post, brought to you by Lights On Electric and Cover All Exteriors. I'm Russ Cullen. We've got Anthony Mingione, and how are you?
I'm wearing this hoodie for the last time. This is the last morning I can wear this while saying this is actually, true. So it's the way it is.
Yeah,
Super
that's
Bowl
your
Sunday, last day of the Eagles' reign. I will have to deal with that.
time's running out on that one.
Mhm.
Mike Ogello. Mike, how are you?
I don't have a hoodie from the 65 AFL champion Bills, so I
Because it
can't.
doesn't count. It wasn't
Do
even.
they have like a Mitchell? They should have like a Mitchell and Ness type of store
They
up
should.
in Buffalo where
I'm
they could do like a mock up of, hey, this is what the logo would have looked like.
I'm sure they do, but whoever's wearing it is freaking pathetic. I mean, come on. But anyway.
Unless you've won the Super Bowl, you haven't won anything.
There were
Mike.
plenty
That's
of
the
people in Philadelphia who wore like 1960s
I know.
NFL championship
For a while, yeah.
a type of gear.
Yep.
Once upon a time too.
Chuck Bednarik sweaters and all that.
Mhm.
Yep. All right. So we're going to start off with something we didn't get to last time, and we'll get into the Matvei Michkov situation.
Yep.
So here's what my biggest beef right now with the situation is it's a failed experiment to play him on the left side. I don't care. He's a left side shot. If you look at where he does his scoring and where they put him on the power play, he scores on the right side. Make somebody else play the left side. And if you put him back for the next 26 games, he will score again. Like, that's my belief.
I to a point. I mean, I think a lot of this remains questions of of a lot of things when it comes to Michkov. He kind of enters the zone, and if you know anything about Tockett's system, basically in the offensive zone, he basically can enter on either side, whether it's the right, the left, or the center. Yeah. The reason why he's on the left right now is to cover for some deficiencies defensively. So I feel a little bit that this is it's a little bit overstated and trying to mask some deficiencies that obviously that he has, which we detailed a little bit in the in today's Flyers focus. Mm-hmm. I feel like that, it's kind of a case where a leash has to be given. And I think if he comes out, my whole thing is that if he comes out of the break and he looks closer to the player that we saw on Thursday, I thought we were seeing whispers more of what we've seen in the past, more of what rookie or Michkov looked like. And again, I'm not anticipating the fact that he's going to get all the way back to that.
Right.
But I think there is room for some give and take here, so to speak, as they go forward. And again, they may do that because at the end of the day, the team's has two regulation wins in their last 14, 15 games going into the break. That will be one of those areas where, okay, if he's really, let's say, he's working hard throughout this break here, and they get good reports, and the coaches say, hey, to Tocchet while he's in Milano and saying, he's out there every morning. He's, working his butt off. He's in the room. He's looking at video. He's doing all the things that are necessary. I think that could be a classic kind of give and take to say, okay, we got to shake this thing up a little bit anyway coming out of the break if we want to have even a remote, even if they're not making the playoffs, to end the season on a relatively good note for him to go into the summer. That kind of I think in that case that could reinforce positive swings going into next year, because really everything now is become with Michkov is year two is it's pretty much done. So how can you finish this season for both the coach and the player in a good spot where he gets into the summer, stays, works his tail off, and comes into next season full tilt, ready to go, similar to where he looked at the beginning of last year.
Mike?
There's enough blame to go around here. I mean, him in the summer not coming into shape. I don't know. I don't remember. Was it an injury?
The injury. So the deal was he did have an injury, but it was in a kind of, I think it was in some sort of a one of those classic Russian summer games that they had. But then he was basically couldn't train the whole summer.
Right.
And then he came back in, and his body fat percentage was well above where he was supposed to be.
Right.
And even after they got a nutrition,
to be fair, so is mine.
I mean, again, it's not exactly to be fair in this circumstance. We're all operating at that. When you're an elite level athlete,
I know.
You're how much is 2% over whatever the prescribed number is. You're seeing
me. I'm an elite athlete. But this is the thing. Like I said, there's enough blame to go around here. Here he should have gotten in shape with the Flyers and with Tocchet. I think this has been handled badly. And I really think that, the most important player right now in this organization is Matvei Michkov, is making sure that he optimizes his potential as a impact player. And, I mean, okay, Martone and Luchenko and, all the other prospects, sure. But this is the first of them. And I think he sort of lays the groundwork. And as we've seen with player like a team like Montreal, where it can't just be Slavkovsky, it's got to be Suzuki, it's got to be Caulfield, it's got to be something. It's got to be a preponderance of these players. And if Michkov doesn't sort of get on the straight and narrow and reach his potential next year, this is a throwaway season, sophomore slump. Write it off as that. If he doesn't come back and take a step forward next year, then this really sets back, the rebuild that Danny Briere has been trying to do. I completely. I mean, I think it's a
battle, but then it comes down to if the player. It really is then going to come down to the player.
Mm-hmm.
The player's got to go into this realizing that, I mean, realistically, my anticipation is I would be genuinely shocked if Matvei Michkov comes into next season in this, in the same way that he did this year.
I would too.
This is your third year. It's like one of the things is like, which one is the real Matvei Michkov, and in reality, that's the duality. It's both,
Right.
When he is, I come back to, he probably heard enough stories about John Tortorella and the infamous rope and having to come in ridiculously good shape. And I do wonder if, after the injury happened and Taki came in, whether or not he kind of like throttled back a little bit this summer. And then, like I said, he didn't play for 4 months. But then my whole thing is you got to be thinking about things from a nutritional standpoint if you're an elite athlete. And if you're coming in with the body fat comportment well above what you should be, he's still young, but if he's on the shelf and he's kind of enjoying himself and the babushkas are feeding him Russians,
I would say this
calorie stuff.
I would say this,
kind of helping himself to it. That's
be like Mike. Double check that double cheeseburger at McDonald's. Make sure nothing else was slipped in it.
I am.
But again, at the end of the day, is this a really
discount?
If he takes it the right, and I think he will. If he takes it the right way and recognizes, holy crap, I cannot do the things I was able to do last season. We saw him along the boards, able to power through. He's got incredible. We all seen it. He's got incredible lower body strength. We saw him circling in the Ottawa game where he's bashing through stick checks. And there's nobody home for a pass, but that was closer to what the expectation is of Matvei Michkov. So,
but this is the thing that's strange, is the fact that you're the head coach whose reputation was built on reaching the unreachable. Like, he was the quote Kessel whisperer in Pittsburgh, a guy who was uncoachable, a guy who, if you watch one of the Leaf documentaries, was threatening to quit the Leafs if Randy Carlyle would not allow him to drink Coke. And we're talking about.
But you have to remember, when you're an assistant coach versus a head coach, the differences in responsibilities, and when that is your responsibility, is get that player sort of in, aligned properly, and you can put your focus in as much as you can. Whereas when you're a head coach, that's where again you have to think about the larger, bigger picture of things. But I think the schedule, everything, there's a lot of stuff that kind of is conspired this year. You just can't. It's next to impossible this year for you to come in and be, come in that shape and not be completely behind because of the way this schedule is going. They don't have the practice time they've had, and just trying to get themselves back into where they were. Things kind of blew up, and that's the reason why I think the tone changed a lot from the Flyers. And obviously, Briere on Tuesday kind of shifted things a little bit back, kind of trying to cool things down, but also kind of shifting it back to, hey, let's try to build up Matvei and not completely smash him down after they got the reaction that they got. But it does, at the end of the day, just to finish up, guys. It does. I do believe it does come down to what the player, what is it that you want?
And Russ,
do you want to be a difference maker? Do you want to be one of the best players in the National Hockey League at your position? There's things that you have to do.
And Russ, when I was 12 years old, I told my mom and dad, if you don't let me drink Coke, I'm not going to school.
Oh my God!
I did. No, just
okay.
Oh God,
all right.
I can imagine how well that went over.
one other funny thing. So after a nice weekend by Michigan State, during that time, Adam Nightingale let everybody know that he had a chat with his team about winning with class. And when he was saying that and talking about that, Porter Martone was next to him. So I just think that's funny that worked out that way. Yep.
Little elbow. And I like Porter a lot, but Porter definitely has a certain personality. And the running joke was, I think someone said, I think it might have been Sean Shapiro said, Porter Martone is like the ultimate Flyers prospect, they got body, kind of, and there's some maturity that'll probably come as time goes on. But I don't know if you necessarily want to completely tamp down that,
No, but I think it's good to kind of like put expectations there. So it's a it's a learning thing. That's all. I mean, he's a great player. It's a learning thing.
And we should, because we only touched on it as it was breaking on Wednesday when we had Kevin on the show, and the events have sort of revealed themselves. I don't know, Russ, if we were going to talk about it, but just the brief thing on Gavin McKenna. They've dropped the felony charges because they have video of the fact that the guy who was insulting his mother,
17-year-old,
was saying some pretty nasty stuff.
Saying some pretty nasty things. It was a 21-year-old who McKenna was there with his parent, with his mom, but apparently
it was here's the thing. It was a team event at a place, and it was, while it was a place that obviously sold alcohol, it was a team party, and none of the underage players were served.
They had wristbands.
And there's plenty of times you go like with family or something.
Well, because it's a restaurant.
I go to sometimes it's interesting because sometimes we've been on vacations in other states, and they literally have certain times a day where you can't have anybody under 21 in the building. Now, Pennsylvania doesn't have those kind of restrictions, but it was interesting. It was very much a case of somebody. It seems like a kid got beer muscles here and decided he wanted to be.
Well, they waited for him.
They waited outside, and they said, and if you were looking to, to make yourself famous, to borrow the line from Billy the Kid, that's what he did for himself.
This will not affect his draft stock. Trust me.
No, my whole thing is that if anything, when this stuff comes out, if anything, it's sort of, weirdly, perversely in that hocky mindset.
That's what Jeff
actually will be considered a credit to his, he'll defend this team.
I would say it's not a credit from a breaking of the jaw standpoint. It's a credit because he stuck up for his mom.
But it is important to remember at the end of the day, again, while the felony thing is going to be gone, there's still the other charges that still currently stand. So my guess is, and Russ and you and I were texting back and forth about this. It's going to be, it'll be it's on video. So he's going to, It'll be at least fine or something like that that'll have to be paid.
He'll be paying some of that NIL money to the guy for compensation for.
He may not pay anything to the guy. He just
good. I hope he doesn't. The guy deserved to.
I'm not sure the guy's going to get anything. So we'll see.
This is again. The guy was a 17-year-old kid who just honestly was an idiot.
No, he's older than that.
He broke.
Was he 21? I thought he was 17. The kid who got hit.
No. McKenna was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he's an older person.
Got it. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. So we move on, Mike. Let's talk Buffalo Sabres. They kind of were like my 78 Chevy, my first car, Chevy Vega, which was, not a great engine, but, had a little bit to it. But it used to sort of like peter out at the end of a long trip. It seems like that's what was happening with the Buffalo Sabres. What's your take?
Well, I mean, I thought that this was something to be concerned about after the break, but I don't know whether, they lost 3 of the last 4, 2 of them in regulation. They're firmly nestled, but not so firmly that if they start to play like the October and November Sabres that they can't fall out of it. They're still getting really good goaltending, but Alex Lyon has had to, take the lion's share of the starts because
I see what you did there.
There you go. I don't think Lindy truly trusts Colton Ellis, even though Colton Ellis played really well against Tampa Bay in an overtime loss. Luukkonen will be back after the break. My issue with this team is, this is an avenue where, they're on uncertain ground because they've just been losers. I'm sorry to use the term, but they've been losers the last 14 years. The only time that they've really competed for a playoff spot was 3 years ago when they missed the playoffs by a point and lost out to Florida. And that was, and then that time their goaltending killed them. That was the year that if they had a goalie, they would have made the playoffs. what they have to be concerned with is right now, they have a bunch of players injured. They'll get some of them back after the break, but it's all on Thompson. It's all on Dahlin and a couple of their defensemen. And Lindy can give them his, sage advice in terms of, where to go and how to do it, but it's up to them to do it. And they seem to sort of lose that mojo late before the break. Maybe they were looking forward to, going to Aruba or Curacao or some Caribbean place like every other.
I think they're guilty like every other team in the National Hockey League right now, who's just very, really, really tired right now.
Yeah, the schedule beat them down.
The schedule's beaten so many teams down, and it's good that they've been on the tear that they've been on. It was a matter of time. Every team, and in this kind of schedule, where you'd get very little respite, it was almost, to me, Mike, it was going to happen. In some ways, maybe it's good that it happens now. They recognize it, so they say, okay, we had our skid. Let's make sure we come back from the break and then really make this push to finally make the postseason.
In talking with a veteran reporter, he basically said, it was inevitable when you go 24-1 that you're going to have a downturn. It's how you respond from the downturn. Now, you could say, well, this is the worst time to have it because it's lingering in their heads for 2.5 weeks and then they come back. Or you could say it's the best possible time because now they can give a chance to physically recover, mentally recover, and then come out of the break shot out of a cannon. We'll see. What I'm going to be interested in here is what Jarmo Kekalainen does, because we've already heard, and I've firmly established my opinion that I think it's completely and totally irresponsible and asinine for them to keep Alex Tuch if they don't have him sign on a contract. But
which means they're going to keep him, Mike.
Which means they're going to keep him. No, that is definitely, he's doing Panarin Bobrovsky 2.0. He's going to, although Columbus was a much more, the question is whether he does what he did in 2019, Russ, and double down like he did with the Blue Jackets. And remember, he traded for Matt Duchene and he loaded up that team.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do it exactly like
that. Yeah, I'm down for that.
They have but here's the thing. Unlike Columbus, they have, at that point, they have a lot of young assets that are essentially expiring in the sense that next year, Devin Levi cannot clear waivers.
Right.
Isak Rozan, who's having a monster year in the American Hockey League with 23 goals in 28 games. This is his third year in the American Hockey League. He's passed it. He's actually played better in the NHL this year when given time higher up in the lineup. He doesn't clear waivers next year. So either shit or get off the pot, basically, with these guys.
Well, I think Levi will make the team. Alex Lyon won't be on the team next year.
He's got 2-year contract.
Yeah, I know, but they can trade him.
Unless Levi gets dealt.
Unless he gets dealt, but they could trade Alex Lyon very easily.
They could, Russ, but they have. What are you going to do with Colton Ellis? He's in the same boat, and they like that. Jarmo is established.
Colton Ellis, you send down on waivers because nobody else took him the last time. Nobody's going to take him again.
Well, no, they took him.
I know. That's what I'm saying. They were the only ones.
They had. Who knows?
Nobody else was going.
I wouldn't assume anything, Russ. And
I know.
An NHL team will look at it and go,
hey,
we need goalie depth.
If you lose Colton Ellis, is it really going to kill your organization? No.
Well, Russ, the thing is that Devin Levi is the prospect of a previous organization, and we know how that goes. So it
doesn't always go that way.
It doesn't always go that way, but he's not having as good a year as he's had the past 2 years in the American Hockey League. And I'm just saying, you've got assets there that you're going to have trouble. Rozan could make the team, but he's not a Lindy type player. And I almost get the feeling right now that if they make the playoffs, Lindy's not retiring, that he's going to come back again. Yeah, for another year or two.
Wow, I agree.
Yeah, but the thing is, he doesn't strike me as a rough type of player. Where Ostlund has earned a place in Lindy's heart. He loves him. But Rozan, he has to it's basically, if I have no other option, okay, I'll play Rozan in my top 9. But the guy can score. I don't know if he can.
He'll probably get thrown into a deal. But I'm just saying they could easily fix this goaltending situation without dealing Levi if they want to.
Right. I see, and I think they're going to use him either at the deadline or over the summer before training camp next year as a piece to trade. And
they might.
I mean, if it wasn't for Jacob Fowler, I would say he would be going to Montreal because he's from Montreal. But but they have Fowler and they like him. But I mean, I think Levi is going to be a piece traded. But the question is, I mean, if they need one piece of the puzzle to put them over the top to get them in the playoffs. Kevin Adams never did that because he didn't do that year, and that was his fault. It's like
there was a lot of things Kevin Adams did.
Well, sure, but now people are nominating him from GM of the year because
not sane people.
I know exactly.
We'll put it that way.
People who love their revisionism.
Yes, I will answer Randy in the chat room. Ethan Whitback could win the Hobie Baker. I like him as a player. I wrote about him last February on Elite Prospects, so if people want to check it out, it's a 1,000-word article. So yeah, I'm not completely shocked that he's doing this, but I'm not saying he's going to win it.
Russ dedicated 1,000 words to him, so therefore he's worth his weight.
There you go. I'm writing 1,000 words. You know it's worth something. All right, so let's talk about the New York Rangers. You know, obviously they made that Panarin trade, and we all talked about what the return was, yada, yada, yada. But what we didn't get to talk about, because it just happened, was not making Liam Greentree available from his college team to Ken Campbell. And that's ridiculous.
They're not college.
Junior team. Sorry. Yeah. Junior team.
Windsor.
Yeah. So Windsor wouldn't make him available. And apparently the Rangers didn't want him to talk.
I think the Windsor would have made him available. The Rangers basically told him not to.
Right. And that's the thing. So the Rangers put the kibosh on that. And, you know, it's a terrible thing to do because Liam will be a pro before you know it. He can handle himself. I've talked to the guy. And you know what? You're not doing yourself any favors by doing that. You should have just let him do it. And if they wanted to have the PR person present, like on the call, that's fine. I do that all the time.
They don't want to deal with it. They just want their process. They want to wait till they want to wait till developmental camp or rookie camp or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'll talk to them then. And that's how they keep their. Yeah, it seems like this is an organizational thing. They do this with all their prospects, it sounds like.
I don't know if they do it with all their prospects because I've spoken to Gabe Perreault at times, and I don't.
But was he still in junior at the time?
Well, he was with the NTDP. I mean,
maybe that's. I mean, I don't know.
They could have told the NTDP, don't let Gabe Perreault talk to anybody, but he did. He spoke to everybody.
Interesting. Okay.
And, and so Gabe Perreault spoke at the NHLPA rookie photo shoot. Like, they didn't stop that. So I think it was because of this trade.
League event. That was also a technically will be considered a league event. So,
but they didn't stop him in regular season NTDP. So my feeling is they did this because of the trade, and because they don't want anything mentioned about the trade if they can help it. That's what they're doing.
If anything, it almost makes no sense to me because it's like to me, you would want Greentree to, in other words, the fans to kind of Ranger fans to kind of get home a little bit. And two, it kind of says, hey, this is the caliber of player. This is the caliber of a player that we think we're getting here. And if anything, it only reinforces the fact that, hey, this is a good, we did the best we could with this return, and we think we did well.
Right. Well, I mean, and this is the thing. It's like, I mean, you would think that the Rangers, in a sense, would embrace this because Panarin treated the Rangers, and okay, they got 7 years, almost 7 years out of him, and he's a great player, and it was his right in July to go someplace, and he used his no move clause. It was like Marner 2.0. He was basically, I'm only going where I want to go, and you can get whatever you can get out of it, but that's where I'm going either now or later. And okay, fine. You were limited, and you got yourself a first round pick, a player who, some people think is a top 6, top 9 guy. Some people dispute it. What the thing is, Russ, I mean, and there have been people who've said this before. I'm really getting an Isaiah Thomas vibe out of Chris Drury.
Oh yeah, I got that 2 years ago.
I mean, and I thought, okay, like he, the team is getting older. He wants to transition. No, he's screwed this team up. I'm starting to wonder if the next move here is Adam Fox. Because I mean,
I don't think so.
I mean, I know that Adam Fox wanted to go to New York and he signed an 8-year deal.
Yeah.
And defensemen are coin of the realm right now. Mm. But I'm telling you, like, honestly, I look at this team and it's like, this isn't a year to turn around, retool. This is rebuild, scorched earth. If it wasn't for Shesterkin, they could bottom out and get a Gavin McKenna.
Yeah, but Mike Sullivan has some say and some pull here.
Sure.
And that's why not everybody is going to get dealt like, who's being listed now. Johnny asked, could Alexis Lafreniere get dealt? Yes, he could. That's entirely possible.
I'm almost at the point now where it's like, if he doesn't get dealt, I would be surprised. We're at that point, I think, with him. So, yeah.
I think that's completely fair. So we'll move on to the Leafs, who should be sellers. Seems like they might be. The good news about this Olympic break is that Craig Berube will be more healed up than he was the last few weeks. So
he already is. Look at him; he's like Wolverine.
Honestly, his recuperative.
You call him Wolverine? I'm like, you're goddamn right.
Is he friggin' Hugh Jackman and from the X-Men?
or they decided to put some pretty good makeup on him.
That's what I think they did.
Oh my God, the half moon. Scarhead, as I called him. Okay. All indicators are, and it's not from questionable sources like, somebody I used to work with, or former heads of never mind. From Elliot, from Pierre, from CJ, from David Pagnotta, who we all respect.
Yeah.
That the word is out. It's just a question of how big. Now, Kyprios reported that the hunger out there from the MLSNE board to do a complete rebuild, scorched earth, was not there. And nobody in their right mind, only the morons who were the talking heads who were going on TSN and Sportsnet and saying, oh, yeah, let's tear it down to the studs. That's asinine when you've got two players in their 20s who are star players who are locked up on no move clauses. You want to get them to do a Panarin and say, get me the hell out of here, and then have nothing, and you don't have your own first round picks to be able to draft the players who would replace them? That's stupid. So, it was always going to be a retool. It's a question of what and how extensive the retool will be. Now, Bobby McMahon, I think they're smart to do this. Do I think they can get a first round pick for Bobby in a deal for Bobby McMahon? I think it depends on, if it's Edmonton, part of it will be taking Mangiapane's contract back because they desperately want to get rid of the 3.5. I think it's 3.5 or 3.6 million. And actually, I think the Leafs probably would. He's a Toronto kid, so they probably want to bring him back. And Treliving knows him from Calgary. He's not as bad as he is there, but he's not as good as 35 goals a few years ago. So if they trade McMahon and they take Mangiapane's contract, the problem is Edmonton doesn't have a first in 26. They have a first in 27. Yeah, okay, you might want.
We used to talk a lot about Mangiapane, Mike, back in the day. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Somebody. Oh my God, Mangiapane is the greatest thing.
Star player.
Yeah. But no. So I think McMahon is almost definite to be traded. Hopefully out of the break, because knowing his history and knowing the Leafs' luck, he'll get hurt.
He'll go on a cold streak, yeah.
Right, and he's done that before too. But if I'm them, I trade him right out of the break. But the interesting thing that Pagnotta reported, and I can believe this because the needs of the Oilers are many, is that they're interested in center help, meaning Nick Waugh, who's a playoff tested guy who's won a Stanley Cup, right shot center, good defensively. He would, in a way, even though he's not as fast as him, in a way he would replace a Ryan McLeod who they traded a couple years ago because they couldn't pay him. And Waugh's under a contract at less than $4 million, so that would make sense. Defensively, the names of Ekman Larsson and Carlo are out there. I think Ekman Larsson is going to get dealt for one simple reason. He's a really good player. He's having a great year. And he's 34 years old, and his term is 2 years, which might be troublesome. But the thing is, it's so low of a cap hit that if a team has to buy him out in the last year and get what the Leafs have gotten out of him right now, he's a legitimate top 4 defender still, and he's played both sides. This is the question. How extensive is the retool?
Right. You can't make it that extensive.
No, you can't. That's the thing, Russ. I think what it is here, and I think hopefully Treliving approaches it this way. It's like, if you're trading Nick Waugh, then you're getting Scott Lawton signed an extension because you can't trade both of them. And Lawton, has never played third line center with the Leafs, but that's supposedly what they got him for. So if they trade Nick Waugh, they can move him to third line center, and he's played well this year. So when he was healthy, if they trade Ekman Larson, who's 34, then they sign Brandon Carlo, Brandon Carlo says he wants to stay there, and he's 29 years old. And they should sign him, and he says he wants to be there. So, and now the one that was brought up in the chat, and I'm hopeful and I'm praying that there is truth to these rumors that Anthony Stolarz is attracted interest and that they're willing to trade him, because the lack of talent recognition on the part of the Leafs when it came to Dennis Hildeby, where they picked up Caden Primo at the beginning of the season, and then only when they absolutely had no option, they call up Hildeby. And Hildeby's got the best save percentage I think Wall got ahead of him, but he had the best save percentage on the team, and he played really well for them.
I mean, people are talking about Hildeby, so they better keep him.
And it's a situation where, like Devin Levi with Buffalo, he's not waiver exempt. Now, if you're prepared to carry 3 goalies next year, okay. But
they did that with Matt Murray for a little while, right, Mike?
Yeah, no, but they sent him down.
They eventually did, but for a little while they had him on there.
Yeah, for a little while, because they were afraid somebody would claim him. And but in this instance, I mean, you could put Stolarz on waivers. I don't think anybody's going to claim him. But if you're taking a salary,
not with that salary, no.
Right, but the thing is, it's like a team like, and I'm just spitballing here, and you can respond to this. A team like Utah, who's got Vejmelka, who's a pretty good number 1, but their number 2 with Vitek Vanacek is horrific. He's really cost them. He may cost them.
That's a legit thought there.
Yeah,
I
he
agree.
may cost them a playoff spot if they don't improve their backup goaltending. And we know that they'll spend the money. And again, it's a situation where, Stolarz would help them in the short term, and then they worry about it in the long term with the cap going up. But I mean,
what the good thing about that is if they did a swap of that, like, if the Leafs took back Vanacek's contract, he could show everybody on the Leafs his Stanley Cup ring.
Yes, and he probably also could cost them a high draft pick by doing a Martin Gerber and playing really well down the stretch. But yeah, but this is the hilarious thing, and history tends to repeat itself. Anthony knows that, since he's a history teacher and I was a history teacher. 2008, 2009, the Leafs cost themselves high draft picks by being too good to get into the bottom 5 and being not good enough to make the playoffs. This time around, they don't have their first round pick. So the only way for them to keep their first round pick is to be bad enough. But with Matthews, with Nylander, with the goaltending they have, it's not going to happen. So it's almost like you want to not make the playoffs, but or either make the playoffs or just miss the playoffs and give Boston the 14th or 15th pick. That's where they're in that mushy middle right now. Yeah. And that's what, I don't think they expected to be in the mushy middle in terms of non-playoff teams.
And the other problem is Boston's done pretty well drafting wise too. So that 14th,
for the most part, they've had a few hiccups, but
but they've been pretty good. They've also been more good than bad, Russ.
Yeah, that's true.
And I do think that it's like, I mean, especially in Toronto, it's like, oh my God, Fraser Minton's going to be the next Patrice Bergeron.
Worse. It's going to be the next Dougie Gilmore.
He's wearing, and Lake Marner, he's wearing number 93.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. No, 93. That's what I mean, Gilmore.
Right. But this is the thing. He's a really good kid. He's a smart kid. He didn't want to get traded from the Leafs. The Leafs swung for the fences to try to get the defenseman they thought they could get them over the top. It didn't work, but the defenseman is still there and he's good. So, I mean, I hope he has a good career. I'm sure Leaf fans say, I hope you have a great career, just not in the 4 games you play Toronto. So, we'll see.
All right. Yeah. So, one other thing, Dean Youngblood was asking a question in the chat room.
Darnold,
the Sam Darnold. Yeah. How many Jet fans thought that he would make the Super Bowl? Nobody, but I did write about Sam Darnold today on sportsology.com because I pointed out in my 2020 article how Joe Douglas, the Jets, and the Jets ownership were screwing Sam Darnold up with different things that they did or didn't do. So you could read that. I'm happy for him, though.
Sam Darnold, to me, go ahead, Mike.
I was just saying, the funny thing is he benefited from, after the Jets, he went to San Francisco and he played under Shanahan. He went to Minnesota, he played under O'Connell. he sort of paid his dues. He got his head straightened on, and then he goes to Seattle, and everything is sort of fit. So I'm very happy for him.
Although there was concern going into the season that schematically that Darnold was not as good a fit as Geno Smith had been.
Oh, yeah.
But Geno was really safe. Sam is more athletic than Geno.
Right, and that was the thing that everybody was specifically. I remember Mina Kimes had indicated, her being a super Seahawks fan and everything, so she's always focusing on that. She was really worried about that, and she, mea culpa on that he turned out to be well. To me, Darnold, in this equivalency, it almost feels, and I could be wrong about this. This feels like a Brad Johnson run when he was with Tampa when Tampa won the Super Bowl. I think
he's a little more talented, but I get it.
I think he's a little more talented, but it's kind of like.
I mean, he's not.
I think things kind of click here, and
he's not exactly a game manager like Johnson.
No, he's better. He's probably like Johnson plus, maybe.
Yeah, he's Johnson plus.
Where I think he will make mistakes, but maybe it's not as good. But if maybe Flacco, I don't know. Flacco,
he's not as good as Flacco. He's somewhere. There's an equivalency somewhere.
He's not Trent Dilfer.
He's not.
No, he's definitely not Dilfer. He's better than
not
Dilfer.
Don Strock. Going way back. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Don Strock. Yeah.
But we'll let's talk about the game for a minute. So I do think Seattle will win. I'll give a score.
I think Seattle to win is what you want to say.
Well, I'm rooting for Sam, but I do think they're going to win because I think they have the better defense. I'm going to say they're going to win 23-16.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm hopeful Seattle wins. The one thing
Mike's a fatalist, so
the one thing that encourages me about Seattle and about New England is New England this year is the Kansas City of the 2025-26 season.
Yeah,
they won every one score game. They won by hook or by crook. They got every break. I'm not saying they're not a good team, but nobody expected them to be here, and everything fell into place. So I'm expecting, Stephon Diggs to choke when he, like he normally does in key games. And I think that it'll be close, but that Seattle probably wins around the point spread, which I think is like 3.5 to 4 points. So, I could see 24-20 Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah. And I see the Eagles winning this one 40-22. Oh, wait, sorry, wrong game.
Oh.
What year is it? Sorry. No.
At least you won one. Shut up.
At least we won two.
Yeah, they won two.
Yeah.
All right. So, I've been kind of going vacillating. I think the expectation is that the defenses are going to rule in this game, which I've had to think throughout the week. I remember bringing my original pick, and I was like 24-21. But now I'm getting this weird feeling that more points are going to be scored than we think in this game. That, we may have a little bit more. But again, it is an outdoor game versus an indoor game. So I do have to keep that in mind. I don't know what the temps are looking like in San Fran for tonight, but I have to check. So I'm going to tamp that down. I feel like those high scoring games usually happen when we're in a closed stadium atmosphere. So I think I'll probably stick with my original pick. I'm going to go Seattle wins this one. Going to say 20. I'm going to change this slightly. 26-21. We're going to say, and it will be. New England will have the ball late, but they will not. But they'll have a chance. They'll get to midfield, but that'll be Seattle will hold. They'll run out of time. Not enough timeouts left, and I think the clock just runs out on New England, and Seattle wins by 5.
Hopefully, hopefully the timeout will run. The time will run out on some of the bad commercials that I'm expecting to see.
And one final note: my heart bleeds for Bill Simmons, who was crying on video the other day that Tom Brady isn't embracing Patriots Nation. He is an owner of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, no.
He can't embrace them while
it's more
getting ready for this.
It's more than that, Russ, because he picked I think he picked Seattle.
So what?
No. And the reason, and I'm telling you, this is the reason why. Because Bob Kraft basically pushed him out of New England after what he did, and then he goes to Tampa and wins a Super Bowl. He basically, in the mind of Brady, he's like, I got pushed out of New England before I was ready to go, and it was sort of like a joke.
But they did the whole thing for him, and he was very enthusiastic.
Right, he's got a statue.
He's got a statue. His numbers is retired. I don't think it's that. I think he's trying to.
He's
this
trying to
is very
remain
much the brand.
neutral.
He's trying to. This is the brand of Tom Brady now. I think
Correct.
that's what we really have to get down to. What this is now.
There's so
There's
much.
going to be times where he's going to compartmentalize.
Yep.
When I was a player as a Patriot, but now and what I'm doing now, which is turning himself into David Beckham, basically.
There's so much. There's so much off the field drama with these former Patriots. It's like Belichick with his 25-year-old girlfriend Bob
Not
Kraft.
anymore. They're not together anymore.
No,
they broke up?
Was that
I
confirmed?
saw they broke up.
Yeah, somebody wrote that out there, but I hadn't seen any
Okay.
confirmation yet about that. So I would probably. It sounds good. I think someone sent that out there that right after he didn't make the Hall of Fame because somebody's
It
having.
sounded good.
I haven't heard
All right.
any. There hadn't been any confirmation. There have been some stories, but they weren't necessarily from.
Okay.
We'll wait on that. We haven't seen them together in a while, so maybe it's true, and someone took that way.
Bob Kraft is in a certain file that came out recently, and
We all knew that.
and the Pro Football Hall
Name
of Fame.
who isn't in that friggin' file.
Right. And the Pro Football Hall of Fame thing, which I mean, hate Belichick as much as you want. I mean, I do, believe me, and I know Russ does. But if you're telling me a guy who won 6 Super Bowls and was a defensive coordinator for 2 others doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame,
I know.
then the Hall of Fame should be firebombed. It's ridiculous.
It's just stupid.
Wait a minute. Are you like?
I'm not advocating it.
Oh, you just said should be firebomb. What's wrong with you, Michael?
I'm being.
What happens when your mouth runs away with you before your brain
shut
catches
up.
it again?
Shut up.
He's being facetious. That's it for Off the Post. We'll catch everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.
Don't do it, folks. Don't do it.